Okay, we're a little late showing up. So before we start, I want to appreciate the land on which we gather is the traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq First Nation. Call to order, and I have a couple of items, one being that two giants in the Atlantic region over the last several weeks have passed away. Mr. Arthur and Jim Irving. I'd like to just extend our sympathies to the Irvings because of their work throughout the Atlantic region, not just here on Prince Edward Island. And then, as mayor and council, I would like to recognize the historical injustices endured by Indigenous people due to colonization, forced assimilation, and systemic injustices. Indigenous Survivors Day on June 30th provides an opportunity to acknowledge the resilience, strength, and cultural heritage of Indigenous communities who have persevered through historical traumas. Recognizing June 30th as Indigenous Survivors Day creates a platform for healing, education, and dialogue, raising awareness about the unique struggles faced by Indigenous peoples. This observance serves as a solemn reminder of the ongoing challenges faced by Indigenous communities and highlights the importance of supporting their cultural heritage and promoting understanding. So on behalf of Mayor and Council, I would like to acknowledge that Indigenous Survivors Day is June 30th. And further, the City of Charlottetown takes great pride in demonstrating its commitment to honoring Indigenous survivors, promoting healing, and building a more equitable and inclusive city. I believe Councillor Duran is on the line, correct? Councillor Duran, can you hear us?
Yes, I can, Mayor Brown. Thank you.
And Councillor McKinnon is on the road, so he will not be here. Any declarations of conflict of interest on any of the 4A, B, C, D, or E?
I have one, Mayor Brown.
Which one, Councillor Duran?
It's on the third resolution of Public Works.
Is that the RFQ award construction waste disposal?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay, any other conflicts of interest? Seeing none. Approval of agenda. Moved by Councillor Ramsey, second by Councillor Matard. All in favor? Okay. Councillor Duran, no problem?
In favor? Yeah.
Okay. Resolutions. 5 resolutions from Public Works. Representing Public Works would be Riley Tweel. Okay. Do you want to read the first one? CAO Eleanor Mohammed, RFQ Award, Asphalt Testing Services.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor McAleer. Be it resolved that Council, as per the conditions of the public request for quotes for asphalt testing services, accept the submission of East Tech Engineering Consultants Incorporated in the amount of $52,625 plus all applicable taxes, and that the Mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Okay. Question called? All those in favor, please. Oh, that's all right, Councillor Beck. We can hold the train.
I had a question about this with several of these, and it's under the financial implications, budget allocation for this project provided in 2024-25. I have a pretty good memory, but I don't remember how much we allocated for said projects or any other projects. I'm wondering if it's possible to remind us, like, is this a specific item? Like, can we know whether it's under budget, over budget, whatever it might be? Just for me, I don't know whether it's pertinent information. For me, I'd be curious to know whether it is. I mean, if it's an under budget, great news. Just wondering if that might be a possibility to be indicated or represented in when we're talking, other than just simply stating it was allocated for in the budget. I don't know if that's a practice we can do or whether it's even worthwhile or doable.
Good question.
Maybe I'll ask you that, Chair.
Councillor McCabe. Do you wish to stand up just to give us an update?
Yeah, I think that that would be a reasonable request in the report writing, but that would have to come through, I guess the CAO would request that, or do I request that? I don't really.
I know our Director of Finance is there. Do you have information? Is that all, Councillor McCabe?
Yeah, I don't have any, through your worship to Councillor Beck, I don't have any specific information on the budget for this specific RFP, this budget item, but funny you should mention it. It's something that I came across this week, and I think it would be a good internal procedure for us as we go to tender on specific projects, that the department requesting or moving the RFP forward, identify the budget line, identify the budget amount, so that when we come to deliberate the proposals that we received, we have an idea of whether we're over or under on it. So it's an excellent point and one that I hope to move on very quickly.
So, Councillor McCabe, I don't know, Riley, do you want to add into it, or are you satisfied with that? Can you
I think it
just,
would be good practice for all, for every report coming forward, when we're out talking about financial implication, regardless of public works, environment, wherever it's coming
Yeah.
from, it's just best practice across the board.
thank you, Councillor Beck. Thank you. Yeah, a good point. Point taken. Councillor Twill, Councillor Bernard.
I think it's also important to note that that in terms of budget items, the budget is a living document. You can add, delete, you can have that flexibility as long as there's not an increase in that department's budget allocation. But again, it's a living document, so just wanted to bring that to your attention. You can always add, you can always delete. If there's a significant increase, let's say in this particular case to the Public Works budget, then it goes the request goes from Public Works to the Finance Committee, then from the Finance Committee to Council.
Yeah.
So, once again, as long as it's within the budget range from an operational, from a capital perspective, as long as that money's is there, you can pretty well bring it forward.
Yeah. Okay, Councillor Bernard?
Thank you. I think, if I understand this right, I think, Councillor Beck, you're asking if this 52,000 for this was in our budget? Is that what you're asking? You're asking if the budget was over or under?
All I'm doing, Councillor McCabe kind of articulated what I was wondering. It's more I'm just wondering about standard practice. I'm not questioning whether this is a judicious spending of money or anything.
No.
I'm sure it is. I'm not questioning the RFP or the awarding of the contract or anything like that. I'm just wondering, as a standard practice, I think it would be good for us to know if we're coming under budget or whether, and kind of to Councillor Twill's point, I recognize that we have an overlying global budget for all the various departments. And an item may come in over budget, but could be extenuating circumstances that cause us to go over budget, and we have to go over budget, but it still fits within the overall budget item for that particular department. So I just think as a standard practice, it might be a good idea for us to know whether it's where it fits. I mean, if it comes in under budget, it's a good news story. And anyway, just my thoughts.
Yeah.
But I'm not questioning anything about this particular awarding this particular contract.
Particular motion, resolution. Dan?
Yes, Your Worship, through the chair to Councillor Bernard, I think what Councillor Beck is alluding to and what I was thinking earlier this week would be good. It's really feedback for council to say, okay, for example, the communications system for the Parkdale room that we were putting in there, I think we had a budget of about 90,000 and the tenders come in about 60. So that gives you a sense that, on that particular project, we're we're a little ahead of where we expected to be. So just feedback as you go on those material projects to give you a sense of what the plan was and where we come in with respect to the actual spending.
No, I was always under the impression that usually there's, in the finance department, if something was to go over budget, it would be blocked.
Yeah.
You can't go over budget. It has to come to council and to be explained then, there's not enough money in the budget, and you'll be looking for other monies somewhere else if you find out where
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah, just quickly, if you go to the report details, this work will provide quality control testing for the city's 2024 street resurfacing program. So that means it's coming out of the 3 million that we
Resurfacing
set
budget,
aside for
yeah.
street resurfacing. That's,
And
it's
then,
just,
and then we're supposed to get quarterly reports
yeah.
on every
Okay.
department that gives where we are financially,
Good.
so.
Question? Question. All in favor? Councillor Drawn, yea or nay?
In favor?
Okay, sir. Next one, and the next one is closure of a portion of Richmond Street east of Cumberland Street.
Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor McAleer. Be it resolved that council, as per the requirements of the city's permanent street closure bylaw, approve the closure of the portion of Richmond Street east of Cumberland Street as advertised.
Thank you. Councillor Twill.
Yep, thank you. When we first discussed this at the Public Works Committee meeting, there was a suggestion of a trade-off. We discussed possible trade-offs of property that's owned by Maritime Electric and other parts of the waterfront, which is not too far away from Richmond Street. So I guess what I'm wondering is, did any of those discussions continue with Maritime Electric or any other property owners in this particular area? I know what the resolution's stating, we're dealing with the closure
Yep.
of this section of Richmond Street, but that discussion went on to great lengths at Public Works. And was there any potential for, was there any dialogue that continued on from that, those discussions at the Public Works Committee, and were any possible scenarios entertained?
Councillor McCabe.
Thank you. And
Please.
as we did say at the committee level too, because we were just dealing with the road closure at that time, that further information will come back through our committee once those discussions for that next step in the process. But right now, you're exactly right. We're just looking at the road closure based on that bylaw for this evening.
So to clarify, any negotiations on anything else, we'll come back to the, yeah. Councillor Twill, second question.
So, am I to take from what you just said, as chair of the committee,
Yeah.
that discussions, have there been preliminary discussions? Have there been any serious dialogue that's taken place with property, again, that's owned by Maritime Electric? I mean, we're fulfilling a need for Maritime Electric. Usually, or in some cases, there's a goodwill gesture and there's a trade-off where the city can acquire land, maybe I would suggest to the value of this section of Richmond Street. I mean, this is a tremendous asset that Maritime Electric is going to be able to take advantage of, and that's fine. But I still think that we should be able to recoup some of the investment that we made in this section of Richmond Street over the last number of years.
Yeah, I call it the street to nowhere. I call it the street to nowhere. Yeah, no, that's, she's going to answer. Go ahead.
Like you, Councillor Twill, I haven't been briefed on any discussions, any information, but I'm sure Riley's here. You could be asking maybe that we could have some sort of follow-up update on next steps at our next committee level. Would that be okay? Thank you. But no, I have not been involved in any,
No.
and so I can't
No
answer your
secrets.
question.
No meetings.
But it's not, we're not talking about that tonight. We're talking about the road closure.
Okay. So, Riley, can you just, as the chair said, take that back to the chief engineer, Mr. Adams? Thank you. Question? Questions called by Councilor Ramsey. All those in favor? Councilor McCabe, favor? Councilor Beck? Councilor Drawn?
In favor?
Thank you. 9-0. Okay, the next one is RFQ award construction waste disposal.
Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor McAleer. Be it resolved that council, as per the conditions of the public request for quotes for construction waste disposal, accept the submission of Landmark Construction in the amount of $47,000 plus all applicable taxes, and that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
So, Councillor Duran, you know you're in conflict, so you just have to step aside.
Yes, I understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Councilor McCabe, did you want to give any background? Do you want to leave it as is? Your choice. Thank you.
Thank you. We were presented in Public Works Committee with the tenders. The recommendation from staff was to go with Landmark Construction. There was a significant difference in the price for the tender. One tender came in, I think it was at this $47,000 that they're recommending. The other tender came in at $100,000. We did receive some documentation and information from the current business that we do contract with. There's not a lot I can say. I know there's some points here that, maybe require some clarification, but I'm going to allow council to ask their questions and see where we get.
Thank you. Councilor Bernard.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just wondering, so, one, I guess, when does this take effect, this contract? And two, the pit that we're using now, I understand there's still a couple of years left before it needs to be filled. So is this, when is this supposed to start?
Councilor McCabe.
Well, that's a good question. Maybe Riley has the exact information. I'm assuming if they went to the RFP, it would probably take over
Immediately.
immediately.
Okay, so I guess the question I would have is, if that's the case, why would we have our trucks driving about 50 miles out when we can only drive 10 if the pit's not full for another 2 years? Why would we be doing this now and having the extra cost to our trucking?
Councilor McCabe.
Well, how it was presented to us at committee, Councillor Bernard and Riley, maybe you want to add some more information, was that there was no discussion about the half-empty pit at that time. That was new. I didn't know that the other pit hadn't been filled, or that was our responsibility as a city to fill the pit. I think the tender went out, and there was a $50,000 discrepancy, and they met all the other requirements, so the recommendation at that point came in that
And
way.
I understand that. I'm just wondering, I guess, one, why would it go out this early if there's still 2 years left on it? I have nothing against, if we need another pit and this is the best we can find, that's great. If this is something that we're kind of getting ahead of the curve, great. But that's why I want to know what's the start date.
And I
there.
didn't know if we had a contract responsibility to fill the pit, so if we do, then I agree with, but that was not presented to the committee at all at that time, that there's a contractual responsibility to finish filling the pit that we've been using.
So, okay.
Just Riley, can you answer any of these questions? Or is this putting you in a tough position? I think the chief engineer should be here, but something probably come up. Can you provide?
Yep, I'm not aware of any, as the chair said, any contractual responsibility to fill the existing pit. I do believe in the RFQ there was a sort of a radius from the City Works garage that was deemed acceptable. Both submissions that were considered were within that radius, and as such, the low submission was recommended.
So,
Yeah. So can I ask Councilor Beck, and then Councilor Matart will come back to you.
why don't we just defer it?
That's what I was going to put a motion to defer.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'll
just
move it deferral.
Moved,
Yeah.
second by Councilor Beck, okay? So the deferral is on the floor. So we're only debating the deferral.
Okay.
No debate? Councilor Twill, or Councilor Matart, did you want to speak to the deferral? Oh, hold on, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just trying to understand, I guess, the basis of the deferral. Is it based on we don't have enough information to make a well-informed decision, or is there new information that's coming to light here today? I don't recall reading in the Tuesday, June 11th meeting package from from Public Works about a contractual obligation to maintain this pit for till its end of life. So if that's something that's being put forward here tonight, I think we need clarification certainly on whether that's an accurate statement or not. Second of all, if there is additional cost associated with additional travel, that might be something, I feel like there is, so I just want to know what the basis of the deferral is. So are we deferring it based on getting more information around what?
Yeah, I think the basis of the deferral is, again, this is unfair for Riley to be here.
Yeah,
He was
that
not
makes
part of the
sense.
meeting. I think the chief engineer has to be here to explain it, because, correct me if I'm wrong, Chair McCabe, did the chief engineer make the presentation? Yes, he did. I do remember.
You were there.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, of course. Maybe I forgot. Okay,
I just want to know what we're why we're deferring and.
More
so I can
information.
Support the deferral.
yeah. Councillor Twill,
Yeah,
Councillor
I
Beck.
think, as the chair pointed out, there's certainly a discrepancy between the cost of the two bidders. And then I personally have received a number of phone calls from the gentleman who's been doing business with the city for a number of years. That's been involved with the city regarding the pit. I don't know all the particulars. Okay, I'm not an environmentalist. I don't know the evidence-based results. We all received this handout by a consultant. I mean, there's a lot of information in here. You know, does it change anything? It doesn't hurt to have a second sober thought to make sure that all the i's are dotted, the t's are crossed. You know, the tender went out in good faith, and the two service providers responded. But, you know, I'm being questioned, have been questioned, and I can't give an informed answer, to be honest with everyone here. I just can't. So maybe, and it's unfair for Riley, because Riley wasn't part of the discussions as well. He was not, the man wasn't even at the meeting. So, you know, Scott Adams is not here. So I think in order for us to do our due diligence, and that's not to say that we're not going to come back with the same recommendation. I don't know, that's hypothetical. But I think we have to do our due diligence, and, because I'm being questioned about, you know, and then I don't even know, I hear talk about the Department of Environment and all this kind of stuff. So I think it's advantageous for us to have that second sober thought, that deferral. Does that change the water in the beans?
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, I don't know.
Yep.
I really don't know.
Councillor McCabe.
Thank you. And I did ask clarifications because everybody was receiving the same calls. I know that the distance met the criteria. I know some of the other, you know, difference of opinions were sorted out. My one concern would be if Councillor Bernard is saying there's a contract that we have to honor to fill that dump site, I think that needs to be clarified because that certainly wasn't presented, that we are required to fill that dump site.
No, can we just come to you?
I'll defer
to him
if Okay. he
wants to respond to
I might have misunderstood.
Go ahead. Councillor Bernard, can you?
I said we have a contract to be able to dump in that pit.
Yeah,
I didn't say there was a contract that we have to fill it.
okay.
Okay.
I just said that there's still 2 years left of room before it's full. So why would we be driving a lot farther when we can just drive there?
Yeah.
That was my question. And that's why
Why didn't we go to RFP?
that's why I'm asking that.
Councillor Beck, did you want to just speak there? I know you've been waiting there. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I just I have several questions that I'm not prepared yet that aren't answered, that I don't feel ready to vote on yet either. The one other question, just with regards to this, is this 40, kind of what Councillor Bernard had alluded to earlier there, is this a one-year contract? Is it a multi-year contract? Is it a renewable contract? Is it $47,000 per year for X amount of years? That's just a clarification, just in terms of this, what it looks like, and I don't know how that works. Maybe if you could provide just some clarification on that right now.
Councillor
Sure.
McCabe?
And I did get clarification on that question. It is for 1 year with the option to renew if the price stays the same and if they're happy with the services provided.
So it's 1 year, not 2. I thought it was, but it's 1 year. Thank
So
you.
1 year.
Yep, thank you. Councilor,
Thing?
don't know. We'll find that out. Councilor Twill?
Yeah, so, again, this is the
This
first
is on the
time.
deferral, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
so I understand it, this is the first time that this service went to tender. If I understand it correctly, the regional contractor's been doing business with the city since the 80s regarding this venue, this pit. I don't know what precipitated the tender, or what brought it to tender, what was the motivation behind it, what triggered it. I have no idea. But a lot of information I'm being hit with afterwards, and again, I don't know the answers. I really don't know, and maybe we'll get that clarified when Mr. Adams is back. I don't know when he's back, but, and then we'll go from there, and it could be the same resolution. I have no idea. I just took a little more time to ask these questions.
Thank you. Okay. Question on the deferral? Question on the deferral? Okay, all those in favor, please put up your hand. 8-0. Okay. Thank you. Can you look at the next one there?
Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor McAleer. Be it resolved that council, as per the conditions of the public request for quotes for one 48-inch commercial-grade electric remote-controlled mower, accept the submission of Atlantic Coastal Equipment in the amount of $64,000 plus all applicable taxes, and that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Okay, pretty easy one. It's a commercial-grade electric remote control mower. Go ahead.
I think, you know what, I think it's a great idea, and it's great to see this purchase. Probably should have done a number of years ago, but there's a number of areas that are somewhat dangerous, like the berm along the bypass highway and so on, so it's good to see this.
Yeah. Okay, question's been called by Councillor Ramsey. All in favor? Councillor Drawn, are you back on there?
Yeah, I am in favor.
Okay, 9-0. Where is that resolution? We got another one there?
Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor McAleer. Be it resolved that council enter into the attached licensing agreement to allow Epic electric scooters to operate their business on designated portions of the public right-of-way, and that council directs administration to proceed with a procurement process for this opportunity for the 2025 season, and that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Thank you. Councillor Twill.
Glad to see the resolution here. Gives clarity as to where the scooters can be parked when they're not in use. Supporting the resolution. The question I have is, when we discussed the whole essence and vitality of this service being provided to the residents of the city, and the gentleman who's here tonight, the owner, was at that meeting. Some of the issues that had come up in terms of compliance, for example, wearing helmets and, the amount of speed that these scooters travel in. I know this is not part of the resolution, but in terms of compliance, maybe that's in another department. I'm looking for a clarification as to where we are with respect to compliance, because I support at economic development that, to come up with a working agreement. I want to work with the business owner, but I'm still hearing concerns from the community, and I'm going to outline them because I think it's important. Scooters on the boardwalk, scooters on the rails trails, not wearing helmets, all of those issues, and I want to work with the gentleman. I really do. But folks, we got some of these outstanding issues that have to be resolved. They really do. So I wish the man all the success, and the people that are riding these scooters, I don't want them to get hurt. But in some cases, they're going at an unbelievable speed. So I don't know where senior management goes from here. I'm supporting the resolution, but in terms of compliance, need to have a meeting with the gentleman, and we got to get some compliance, and we got to get these issues dealt with.
That's why it's great to have the Chair of Protection and Emergency Services here, because this has been discussed thoroughly at that committee, standing committee, and I'm sure, Councilor Rems, you can add in later that it's going to be brought up. So I'll go with just Councilor Materne, and you're right afterwards. And get your notes together, Councilor Materne.
Thank you. Just out of curiosity, when I was looking on the heat map, I guess indicating where all the various drop-off and pickup locations would be across the city on property, how is that going to be marked for people, the ridership, and how will they know exactly where to deliver those? I feel like they'll still be put in various random locations and dropped off, but nothing's to prevent that from occurring. So has that been discussed at the, I don't know if it's at the Public Works level or at this level? Do we know the answer to that?
Councilor
Again,
McCabe.
this is where I've requested at our committee, maybe that the owner could come in and do a council of the whole presentation. It crosses into police, it crosses into economic development, it's crossing into public works. So I really think that, I can't answer that question. Ours
I don't know
was the
if I-
parking
yeah.
spot allowed for parking in the right of way, but I do think that we should invite the
TAF,
business,
yeah.
okay, owner in to do that presentation, just because, again, it crosses so many departments, and it would just be really great to all have the right information.
And I don't think, it doesn't change it's not changing my outcome of what, I'm like Councillor Twill, I wish them all the best, and I hope it's successful, but again, if we're going to be putting in checks and balances here and some guidelines and restrictions, we need to know how they're going to be adhered to. And some of these, like I'm looking at one property, it's in between two buildings, a Pony Boat and the Parkade. Who would know that's where you're supposed to put one? Is it going to be marked out? Is the grass going to be painted a different color? I don't know, like how we'll know what these are going to go. So anyhow, I just think that, before we go ahead here, we certainly go ahead, but I think we need that information to follow. So I support Councillor McCabe's request to have Mr. Taft come in and present to us. I think we've all been having some form of discussions around this. I haven't had one personally in HR committee, obviously, but.
We can go to HR,
Pardon?
provide lunch.
Yes, but, I think it's been had in other areas, so it'd be worthwhile exercise, maybe Mayor, you could call a special meeting. I'm sure that
another
would
one.
be fine with you, and then.
It's always fine with me, sir.
Thank you.
But Taft's a great speaker, and he'll come in anytime. Chair of Protective and
Your
Emergency
worship, we've
Services.
been beating this up here for a while, and it wasn't, and we understand everything, because I see them myself, how they're driving, and Taff, you're here, and all this too, and he's working with the Charlottetown Police Services. But we can't be on every street, and I guess Taft can't be on every street either, and they're blowing by, they're not wearing helmets, Taft, I'll say it publicly right now, their helmets are hanging on the handlebars and things along that line. That's not what we basically agreed on, and I don't know how you're ever gonna police this thing, but, and I brought it up, as Councillor McCabe brought it up before, we would like you to come in for all the council to answer all questions, because it's going through 3 or 4 committees here now, your worship, and I don't know where it's gonna stop.
It's going to stop at the committee of the whole.
Thank you. I mean, we're all in favor of this resolution, of having a contract and having the places put there and everything along that line. But there has to be handlebars put on this thing too, and saying, okay, this got to be policed a little bit more. Thank you.
Councilor Bernard and Councilor Beck, let's wrap her up here.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's funny, when we were in Calgary, we all seen all kinds of these, and everybody was using them. And you and I talked to the gentleman that was responsible for the helmets and the technology now that the way to get them to wear the helmets or the e-bike doesn't start. Because the helmet's got to be unclicked, and there was other technologies. One of the things they were doing too, they had different spots, they had different setups for these e-bikes. And then I understand from talking to one of the owners that every night there's a vehicle that goes around and picks up the e-scooters. And it usually was after midnight, so if somebody just left it on the sidewalk or left it somewhere, they're always picked up and taken to their designated spot. So I think there's ways to make this work. There's other cities that are doing it, and so there's ways to make it work. I don't oppose to what Councilor McCabe said. They want to bring the owner in, and he can explain what he plans on doing. But I think it is becoming part of society. These scooters, that they're everywhere. It's just a matter of, I think Calgary does a good job, and it's just a matter of us having that same technology, or the owner bringing up that same technology, so that the helmets are worn, and these designated locations. There was a number of them around Calgary. So the only thing, my question was, because we used to hear last year about they're left in flower gardens, they're left everywhere. So in Calgary, there's crews that go around and pick them up, take them back. So.
Well, one night I was coming home at 11:30 and Taff was out in his van, picking them up, straightening them up. I give him credit. He's a one-man show. Councilor Beck, and then Deputy Mayor Yankoff.
Taft's here, can he answer though?
I think we'd like to, I don't want to put him on the spot.
No, okay.
I know he can shoot from the hip, but I think for him, I will give him an opportunity to prepare and come in and
Okay.
speak to us.
All right,
Right, Taft?
bring him in again, all right.
Okay.
I was looking under, on page 19, it was talking about ensure a standard level of service and reduce confusion between multiple possible operators in the community, indicating that there could be someone else come along and create a similar company to what TAF has. So I guess my question is, and I'm just seeking clarification, my first question is, would TAF have exclusive rights on these spots, or would other potential companies have the ability to drop them in the same spot? Because we're looking at a lot of pretty small spots. We're talking at the corner of intersections of some streets on little grassy areas. We're talking about the Pony Boat, where it has a little area in between the Pony Boat and social, or the Parkade. So that'd be my first question. Another question I had was on the indemnity, and just a clarification, where it talked about the city, page 25. Such insurance shall name the city as a loss payee, what does that mean, a loss payee, as its interest may appear? It's talking about maintained your liability against insurance claims, license space in a minimum amount of $5 million. Such insurance shall name the city as a loss payee. What does that mean?
So, Councilor McCabe, I know that Michael Russ did the report. We have the Director of Finance, so either one can answer, or both. Do you mind if they go through them? No. Yay? Okay. Who wants to go first? Because it says, signed by Michael Russ, digitally. Okay, thank you. So you're the digital Michael Russ?
I am indeed. Through the chair, if you can maybe just repeat the first question again.
Well, I'm wondering what that means when it says such insurance shall name the city as a loss payee.
So my understanding is that that would cover the city if there were issues, but we can certainly have legal clarify that further. Legal drafted the agreement.
Okay.
Dan, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I can add a little extra clarification through your worship to Councillor Beck. So it's a fairly standard provision in an indemnity insurance where TAF's operation would carry the insurance policy, but in the event that someone came after the city for a claim of liability because they fell off their scooter or whatever, that the insurance policy that TAF carries would be able to pay the city in terms of reimbursing them for any out-of-pocket expenses to defend an action or to pay a loss.
Okay, thank you. And the other question about exclusive usage.
So again, through the chair, the purpose of the report and the agreement is to grant TAF exclusive right to use these defined spaces outlined in those appendices for this season. Understanding that, there may be additional parties that are interested in operating in these same spaces in the future. We're recommending that because it's public property, that we go through a procurement process through the next season.
So for this, for the 25 season, TAF would have them exclusively?
For the 2024 season, TAF would have exclusive right under this agreement.
Sorry, 24 season, I meant, yeah. And then based on this, seeing how this goes, we would go, and then whoever wins that award or wins that contract would again have exclusive rights to
That's right,
these designated areas.
correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Deputy.
Yeah, thank you. I'll definitely support this licensing agreement, and I certainly would look forward to some other clarity around some of the other questions that were outlined this evening. But I'll just caution everyone, just because this licensing agreement has an indemnification in there, there is definitely a responsibility for the city, and it's called vicariously responsible. So if anything happened to somebody and there was a lawsuit, I can assure you that the city can be held vicariously responsible as well, even if we have the indemnification. So just saying.
Thank you. Your worship.
Dan, do you want to address that?
Not specifically on the liability, but just with respect to the procurement that we would envision for next year. I also wanted to add, we may have additional parties that come to the table that want to get into the business, that if they demonstrated a capacity to do that, that we might divvy up the spots and offer a couple of packages or a couple of parcels and allow them to bid separately, similar to what we do with the asphalt. So by doing it for 1 year, it gives TAF the comfort that he knows to operate for this season, but also fair notice that for future years it may be a competitive process where the city would look to have proposals from other operators if there were those that demonstrated an ability and an interest in doing so.
Okay, Councilor Bernard, you want to sum it up here, or we?
Sure.
I think we're all.
I just had a couple questions. One was, when we're talking exclusivity, are we talking exclusivity to the designated spots?
Yeah.
Through the chair, that would be for the designated spaces.
Okay. And so the designated space, are we using any of our parking stalls?
Again, through the chair, all the spaces are outlined in the appendices. I do not see any parking stalls in that list.
I don't either, but I want to make sure that we're not using up more parking spots.
Green spaces.
So this is similar to Calgary, where you're up on the sidewalk and it's parked off in an area. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yes, Mackler, you want to just give us your reason why you're voting for it, or? Okay.
I just wondered if, just on Councillor Jankoff, or Lana, Councillor Jankoff's comment, the liability vicariously, can staff confirm that? Is Councillor Jankoff correct in that?
CAA or Dan, whoever wishes to take it on?
I can comment on that. We're liable on any of our infrastructure, whether they're in a scooter, a bicycle, a car, anybody can ultimately sue us and try and hold us responsible for whatever happened to them. So that's a legal risk that we always have anyway, and we carry insurance for. The other thing I just wanted to add from earlier, just kind of a note from caution, when you see scooters on the road, we're not to necessarily assume that those scooters are from this business. There's lots of electric scooters in town who may or may not be following the law. So when this business owner comes to present, he's not to deal with the sins of all scooter users in this city. He has control over his operations, but nothing else. Thanks.
Yeah, it's like going in the parking garage. We're liable there. And riding bicycles and e-bikes. Okay. Councillor, another point, do you want to, okay. I think you spoke twice already, sir.
No, it's just a clarification on the resolution.
Point of
It says
clarification.
for the 2025 season.
Yeah. It should be 2024, correct? Or 24, 25?
Should be for the 24 season.
Okay, so we have to amend that to process for this opportunity for the 2024 season, correct? Can we amend that?
No, it's correct.
Okay, could you clarify it?
Thank you, Your Worship, it's correct, because what it's saying for us to enter into this licensing agreement right now, and then it's directing administration to proceed with a procurement process for this opportunity for the 2025 season. So as we've discussed, we're going to go through an RFP process that they can bid on those spots for next year. But you're also signing the licensing agreement for this year. Yes.
That's why you shouldn't have long sentences. Okay. Are we going to have questions called? All those in favor? Councilor Drawn, yea or nay?
In favor.
Okay, 9-0. Okay, and we have 2 protective and emergency service resolutions, several property cleanups, and a purchase of a self-contained breathing apparatus and accessories. Want to read the first one?
Moved by Councillor Ramsey, seconded by Councillor Beck. Be it resolved that the Public Works Manager be authorized to cut grass, remove any trees, garbage, and other materials or debris, dangerous or otherwise, clean up and properly dispose of the same at the owner's expense at the following properties in accordance with the terms of the dangerous, hazardous, and unsightly bylaw of the City of Charlottetown, and that pictures were taken of the noted properties listed below without satisfactory action taken to resolve the issue by the respective property owner. 17 to 21 Ashburn Crescent, PID 372672, warning posted May 24th, 2024. 38 Westcombe Crescent, PID 570424, warning posted on May 23rd, 2024. 21 Barrymore Court, PID 515080, warning posted on May 16th, 2024. 11 Much Crescent,
MUTCH.
PIT 1074681, warning posted on May 15th, 2024. 8587 Brackley Point Road, PID 396259, warning posted on June 12th, 2024. 80 Massey Drive, PID 777508, warning posted on June 3rd, 2024. 45 Barton Crescent, PID 575837, warning posted on June 5th, 2024.
Okay. Councilor Twill,
Yep.
go ahead.
Just want to reiterate what I said at one of our previous meetings regarding the procedure and process when it comes to dealing with unsightly premises of this magnitude. Our bylaw enforcement officer has an excellent track record. He's probably one of our best employees. He's great at dealing with property owners. But this process, again, I'll reiterate, takes too long. It takes much too long. I mean, we're dealing with one issue here that I've been involved with. That's several weeks now. And I understand that, but several weeks, and we're finally getting around to a resolution. It's too cumbersome, it's too long, frustration in the various neighborhoods, and I understand that frustration. So I did say, Mr. Mayor, put this on the agenda for council to discuss. I don't know why we can't make the necessary amendments to the bylaw or procedural bylaw or whatever the case may be, but this has gone on too long. Like, let's make the changes right away. Let our bylaw enforcement officer people go out and do the work and empower them to go out and do the work, as opposed to constantly coming back here, going through Chair Ramsey's committee, and then coming to here. That's 8 weeks, and even longer. The summer's over. I don't know why we just can't make those necessary changes it should be able, why can't we do it?
Okay. Okay, Councilor Twill. 2000, 2006, we were doing the same thing. Here I am, 18 years later, we're still doing it. Okay? So, the deputy and Councilor McCabe can tell you that we've been working on this through planning for the last 4 years on a summary proceedings bylaw. And we're close to getting to the end of it, okay? So can I move it any faster? No, I can't. Can the courts move it any faster? No, they can't, because the lawyer, through Cox and Palmer, is working on it, and Melanie McKenna has been back and forth with our staff down in planning. So planning is now reaching out to other departments to ask, how can you integrate this into your bylaws that govern you? So we are doing something. Are you frustrated? I'm frustrated. So we are doing something, and it will be done. Councillor Beck?
Yeah, just to, incidentally, we just had a similar discussion at our committee meeting at lunchtime today about kind of the same thing, where we had one policy that hasn't been updated since, or bylaw in 1999. So
EMO.
we have a pressing need to update and review and look at our bylaws to make changes. So as the CAO alluded at the meeting this afternoon, there's going to be an opportunity presented to us to come out to look at all our bylaws and for council to say which ones are the most pressing. Because I share your concern. I know Councillor Ramsey shares the concern. I know Deputy Mayor Yankoff shares the concern, because we've dealt with it on multiple occasions through the protective. The problem is we're bound by our bylaws. And until our bylaws change, that's where we have to, that's where the rubber will hit the road. So I think there's a commitment to look at not only updating and making the necessary changements, but maybe some consolidation of our bylaws so that it may be able to more fluidly move along and look at them. But it takes work, unfortunately. But I think there's a commitment that I've heard from certainly the different committees I've been on, certainly in protective services, that we have to take a look and do some adjustments, make some tweaks, updates, whatever it might be, to our procedural bylaws, because the frustration will continue, and until we make those necessary changes, we're going to be bound by what we have to currently work with. So I would ask everyone to put their thinking caps on in terms of when that comes out, when that survey request comes out, figure out what it is that you want to prioritize, say that, and then have your voice presented at that time, and then the professional staff can get to work on doing that in collaboration with us.
Okay, Councillor Picard.
Yeah, thank
And
you,
then
Your
Councillor
Worship.
Twill.
Just a quick point here. I think there's two things at play here. One is looking at addressing the summary offense of this and how we're applying different penalty to unsightly properties. I think that's one component that I've heard. But the second one, I think, is what Councillor Twill is saying, and much of us too, is there nothing we can do in the interim to speed this process up, in the sense of not what's coming out the other end from, whether it's still getting the same effect of, the resident is being billed for the work that's being done. It's this whole process of getting it through to this tonight for this meeting, I think is what would be a quick win here, is removing some of those barriers to allow our bylaw officer to go and do that and put the sticker on the door. I had one done tonight. I saw him do it personally, so now that's going to come through this 8-week process or 6-week process, whereby is there any part of that we can work on that? And I'm not asking that question to be answered here, more so than just, is there a couple different components I might be able to peel back here and look at, saying, let's deal with the time frame? And I think that's what Councillor Twill was looking more at, is a time frame versus the penalty aspect of it, which might be the summary offense. And if they're one and the same, then so be it. But I don't see it being one and the same.
Councillor Twill. and then
Councillor
Councillor
Beck, I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate, looking at, the bylaws and trying to prioritize them from a comprehensive perspective, and I appreciate that. However, I think simultaneously, we can let's at least take this proposed changes to this bylaw, and let's knock it off now. We can still work on those other bylaws that you're talking about, doing the research and prioritizing them and itemizing which ones we want to deal with. But we can't wait to deal with all of them and then go through that exercise. I'm not saying it's not a good exercise, but we can do we can deal with the proposed changes that needs to be done on sightly premises to give the power to the bylaw enforcement officer so he can go out and do his or her respective work. So I think we need to do that right now, Mr. Mayor.
But, okay, Councillor McCabe,
Yeah.
I have already said my piece. Councillor McCabe?
So I would say, I've already put a notice of motion for our next meeting to bring this issue back. When I read section 8.12 on the nuisance bylaw, I think our interpretation has to be some clarification. I'll just,
No, I'm just waiting. Can you just put your chair down so we can hear? Yeah, go ahead.
I forgot what it is. My interpretation of the bylaw, when I read it, as long as that process starts, when they put the sticker on, they get the 7 days notice. I think how I interpret it, not that we have to go through all this. So I have put the notice of motion. I'm hoping we'll be able to have discussion, but I don't think tonight is it. I have put that notice of motion to come forward so that we can follow that.
Okay, Councillor Bernard?
Thank you. I was just going to say, when you look at these dates, when the bylaw officer posts it, he does give them time to fix up the property. So it's usually at least 2 weeks, and then he checks back. And if he checks back and the property owner says, you know what, I'm going to get at it, just give me another week, whatever. So that plays into these times. It's not necessarily when it says May 23rd that we've been waiting since May 23rd. So, if you've given the guy 3 weeks, that was like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councillor Peck? And summarize.
And I think that's what, like, I was referring to process. I wasn't referring to penalties or sanctions or whatever it was. I think we're all in agreement. Right now, Todd Sutcliffe and Elizabeth have to act in accordance to what's outlined to them. And unfortunately, we can't go in and just willy-nilly say, yeah, here's what you're going to do and do it now. There's a process that has to be followed. And that requires a procedural change to the bylaw. And as a result, that takes time. I'd love to be able to take a magic wand and go, poof, Todd, you now have that power. Elizabeth, you now have that power. But that's not the way it works. So it does take some time to do it. I think we're all in agreement. I think we're all understanding, expressing and feeling the same frustrations, and all have the desire to make those changes. But again, I'll reiterate, we have pressing bylaws that have to be updated. We have to decide where we're going to ask people to concentrate their energy first. So think about that and see where it goes.
Councillor Ramsey?
Just to wrap it up, Your Worship, as we go through this every month, as we all know, and we're all getting a little annoyed with it and tired with it. Councillor Beck, I watched your meeting today, and I understand the bylaws and everything, but as we say, we go through this every month. Let's make a priority to put this for number 1 on the bylaw change, and then we'll work on the other ones as we go down. But make this quicker, and then I think it's going to satisfy an awful lot of people. But this should be number 1, so whenever you get this question from senior management or something, put this as number 1, so it'll be the first one that we act on.
Okay.
Thank you very
And
much.
procurement bylaws there too. Okay,
How many questions called?
questions called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Councillor Drawn, yea or nay?
In favor?
Thank you, sir. Do we have another resolution called nay? No. Purchase self-contained breathing apparatus and accessories.
Moved by Councillor Ramsey, seconded by Councillor Beck. Be it resolved that council approves the sole source purchase of 12 new mine safety appliance, self-contained breathing apparatus and accessories from K&D Pratt, the Atlantic Region suppliers, for the cost of $193,000, $41.99, taxes included, as approved in the 2024-2025 capital budget, and that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Okay. Question? Question called? Okay, all those in favor? Councillor Drawn, yea or nay?
In favor?
Thank you, sir. Okay. And now we're going to 2 Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Activities Resolutions. Do you want to read the first one? CAO Eleanor Mohammed.
Moved by Councillor Twill, seconded by Councillor Matart. Be it resolved that as per the recently advertised request for proposals Pickleball court surfacing and court lining, the City of Charlottetown accepts the bid amount of $48,950 plus applicable taxes from Playtech Enterprises, and that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Councillor Twill, Chair of Parks, Recreation and Leisure.
We have two resolutions, and tonight we're forwarding this one first for council's consideration. Over the past year, we've had a number of meetings with the pickleball community, a sport that's been growing leaps and bounds. The growth and that development of that sport, I mean, it's internationally. It's fascinating. I know that our Parks Department has been working again over the last year. This is for an outdoor facility. We're repurposing the tennis courts that are out in Hillsborough Park, transitioning some of the other sports into the outdoor arena with the boards, which is great to have in that particular community, which is required and needed, to my mind, in every community. But the information is there in the background. Christopher Drummond is here, our assistant manager. And if there's any questions, we'll do our best to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Bernard.
Thank you, Councillor Twill. I just want to say, when I asked for this last year, and there's a number of people looking for, obviously everybody looking for pickleball courts. When I asked for this last year, they were going, so there's a lot of kids play basketball in that area too. So, and ball hockey, they've kind of moved the ball hockey to the multi-purpose facility. And I guess I just want to make sure we're still on with. They were going to put the basketball nets in the multi-purpose facility so the kids could still play basketball. So that's still going to happen. Correct? Yeah.
Yep.
So that'll happen when this gets started. So we'll have the basketball nets up in place in the multi-purpose facility, hopefully. So they.
Mr. Chair, can he go through?
What I'm concerned about is I'm glad this is getting done, but while they're working on it, they'll have no place to play. So if we can make sure those nets are up and in place, that would be great.
You're all right that he answers? Mr. Drummond? Mr. Drummond? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Worship, through the chair to Councillor Bernard. Yes, that is the plan. We have to work on where we're putting them and the uprights that we're going to use to put the basketball nets into the multi-purpose facilities, but it is on our list to do, and I will take note that it is a priority once the courts are under construction to have the basketball courts available for the residents in the Hillsborough area.
Yes, basketball is a sport that's demanding to have those courts, and I know our Filipino community are big basketball players, so it's great to see that. Yeah. Councillor Beck.
Can I ask a question, Mayor Brown?
Yeah, right after Councillor Beck, sir?
Sure.
Councillor Beck?
So, just so I understand, currently, there are 6 tennis courts there? No, what's there? Just because we're talking about lining for 6 courts, new courts behind the Hillsborough Park Community Center.
Just,
And they've been playing on the other side ball hockey. So when it was made, it was for two tennis courts.
Okay. So the
pickleball courts are small.
side-by-side, what used to be side-by-side tennis courts is now going to be 6, we're going to reline with 6
right.
pickleball courts.
That's right, yeah.
And they will be uniquely for pickleball?
Yeah.
Those courts will be uniquely for pickleball now?
yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay, Councillor Duran.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Yeah, just on that question about basketball nets. Now, would they be going in all the multi-purpose rinks that we have for ball hockey, or is it just going out to one ward? I'm just wondering. I know the kids want to play basketball up at Mulberry, and I'm just wondering, it was empty there last night, so I'm just wondering if they're all the multi-purpose rinks are going to get the basketball nets.
Councillor Twill.
Thank you.
You know what? That's a good question. It's a good question. It really is. We're being under tremendous pressure as well from the basketball community. Mr. Drummond is here. He's making a note of that. And I'd like to say yes and give you a confirmation right now, Councillor Drummond, but I will give you a confirmation that this will be explored by senior management in the Parks and Recreation Department. I think it's a very good suggestion, a good recommendation on your part. I know Mulberry Park, for example, is extremely busy. It's a hub of activity. There's a variety of sports that are there, and I mean, it's fantastic and well utilized. So Christopher is making notes to that effect, and we're going to explore those opportunities. I hope that gives you a comfort zone knowing that we're going to explore that.
Yeah, so Councilor
Yeah,
Drawn,
just-
that's what you're asking for, correct?
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
like, I mean,
no, it's a good
I just don't understand. I just don't understand why they're not going in all of them if they're going in one.
Yep.
So that was the only question I had. Thank you.
Request is made, and if we're doing them for one, we can do them for many, right, Christopher? Okay. Okay, questions called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Councilor Drawn?
In favor?
Okay, 9-0. Okay, do we have another one? And it is name and request boardroom at Simmons Sports Center.
Moved by Councillor Twill, seconded by Councillor Matart. Be it resolved that council receives as information the news of a $75,000 donation to be allocated to the capital construction of a boardroom in the new Simmons Sports Center, and that council approves the naming of the room as the Stu McFadgen Boardroom in accordance with municipal property naming policy P-admin-03, and further that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Councilor Trail.
Yes. Honored and privileged to bring this recommendation forward, to move this resolution, to have this boardroom named after our former deputy mayor, rink manager for Simmons Arena, which has been there, I guess you could say, approximately 50 years now, over 50. This initiative was put forward by Cam Powerskate, in particular, Beryl McMillan, who's been a real pioneer, a real, a real promoter of her particular sport. And she came forward with this initiative, wanting to partner with the city of Charlottetown. Our staff did the necessary research, did their due diligence, brought it to the committee. The committee thought this was a great initiative, and as our CAO pointed out, it's consistent with our naming policy. The boardroom, proposed boardroom, does not compromise what we're already proposing in the new Simmons Arena. This is an addition. So we think that it'll be a nice amenity to the facility and give our different user groups an opportunity maybe to host their, their executive meetings or board meetings, and have it right in the facility, which I think is fantastic. So I think this is a great initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Beck, Councilor Bernard.
Yeah, I love this. I think for someone who spent a great amount of his childhood in Simmons Arena, and someone who was had a lot of firsthand dealings with Stu McFadgen as a young, influential adolescent, Stu did a lot for us. And I always appreciated Stu and the work that he did, and to have his name commemorated in a rink that meant so much to him, or a property that meant so much to him, is so fitting. So kudos to Beryl McMillan and Cam Power for initiating this. I certainly support it. The one question I do have, I was looking at our naming policy and our commemorative policy, and are we just, does the, under section 6.1, I'd have to go to it for a minute, it talked about, where am I?
6 point, what are the government policy?
It's on page 60.
Okay.
All individual naming rights must be for a fixed term, Every agreement shall include a sunset clause specifying the duration of the naming opportunity. Individual naming rights may be subject to renewal on mutual agreement. Do we have to specify that now, or does that get specified later, or does it have to get specified at all?
Don't think we did it for McLaughlin's Arena. The Kerry.
Well, I'm just asking the question, because I'd like to, I'd put forth that it go for 25 years and look at renewing it then, but I'm just wondering that if, in respect of our naming, if we're going to go and name something as in commemorative honor of Stu, again, which I totally agree with, do we have to indicate that term?
Just one sec.
Councillor Twill. It's a good question, and I see the section that you referred to. I don't believe so personally. I think once we name it after our former deputy mayor and rink manager, that, this name will be there in perpetuity. I don't believe we have to, renew the naming rights at a later date. I stand to be corrected.
No, I think the policy's clear.
We have to.
The policy's clear. Just go to the policy.
policy's right there.
Yeah, I know the
Section
policy.
what? 6.1?
Yeah, I know, but we did, when we had our Parks and Recreation meeting, there was no reference made to that fact. We all agreed that this would be named after the deputy mayor for the boardroom, and this is something that, this is a new initiative that came along, supported by, Beryl McMillan and Cam Sport. So, I mean, I'll turn it over to Christopher, but I don't think like there's a time frame or timeline where we have to come back and renew it. Now, I stand to be corrected. Christopher?
Through the mayor to the chair and to Councillor Beck, I did speak to our manager with regards to this because I had sort of the same question, and his response was that it would be for the life of the facility, or it would be for the time of the facility. Now, if it has to be acknowledged here as part of the resolution, then we can certainly accept that as well too. But it would be for the life of the facility, which could be 50 years like the current Simmons is, so.
Yeah, we can override the policy, but just remember, if we override the policy, we're setting precedent. I think what Councillor Beck pointed out is,
I have no desire to change the name of the building.
No.
I'm just saying, according to our naming rights policy, we have to set a fixed term. I'm okay with putting it at 50 years or 25 years or 99 years. I really don't care. I think, like I said, I think this is a great idea. I think this is a great initiative. I just want to do it in keeping with what our naming policies are, so that it doesn't say that, it just has to be a fixed term. And I think maybe we should be determining what that fixed term is going to be. I totally support it. I want that abundantly clear. I just want to make sure that we're adhering to what our naming policy is outlining.
Councillor Bernard, I'm just going to let Councillor McCabe go first. Is that all right? Go, Councillor McCabe.
And I would agree with that. If it says the fixed term, I think all we have to do in our resolution that we have forward tonight is to amend that resolution to include for the duration of
building.
Simmons facility, or maybe I'm wrong, 50 years. Eleanor can correct me, but I would amend our resolution to support that.
Can I just get the CAO and then Councillor Bernard?
Thank you, Your Worship. If council wishes, I think this can go forward tonight, and then we can take that away and come back with a separate resolution that gives you a recommended timeline. So we can take back, look at that section of the policy, come back again.
No, Councillor Bernard, then we'll get back to you. Councillor Bernard.
I just wanted to say, I mean, everybody in here knows Stewie, probably one of the kindest souls that anybody's ever run into, so it's really nice to see this. We all know Stewie personally, and I can remember when my daughter was only 3, 4. She was, most kids are a little shy. When she first seen Stewie, she ran up, give him a hug. But anyway, I wanted to really point out Beryl McMillan. What a generous donation to put in Stewie's name. And Beryl herself is a very
very astute person and very kind person also, and it's nice of her. She obviously worked with Stewie for a number of years. When I was president of Charlottetown Minor Hockey, Beryl was on the board with me, and is a very intelligent lady too. So just want to point out that her donation's really, really generous, and so the two of them combined, it's really nice to see. And it'd be nice to see Stewie's name up on that room. I think sure he'd certainly appreciate that. So thank you.
Councillor Ramsey, then Councillor Twill. Wrap it up.
Yes, and I just want to sort of echo Terry's comments too. Like Beryl and the Ramseys and McMillan's been friends for 40-some years. Andrew and Ryan and Craig, they all get around together. And Councillor Beck's nephew, Jeremy, too. They played all the way through. Stewie was always number one, and when I was, it's funny, because when I was president too, and you'd be upset, like Stewie and Billy McMillan, we always had this little pact that kids that couldn't afford it, we would sort of put them through the system. And they would play hockey, those winters, and Stewie and Billy McFadden would get the gear for them and find the gear and everything along that line. So I think it's a fantastic idea. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Twill.
Yeah, look, I'll just go back to 6.1. All individual naming rights must be for a fixed term.
Yep.
Not exceeding the useful life of the property. So I think that's what management was concentrating on when we made the decision to bring forth the recommendation. This would be there forever and a day. That's how I interpret it. So it was never, Councillor Beck, there was never any question that it was going to be just for, 5 years, for example, or 10 years. It was going to be there for the life of that facility.
Yeah, I think the CAO said that she'll touch base with the manager. Okay. Yeah, no, thank you. Questions on the floor? No, questions to vote on the floor. Yeah, questions on the floor? Now, come on, just take it easy. Point of clarification.
Point of clarification, so does that, when Eleanor's going to come back with a recommendation of term, for lack of a better word, does that require, do we have to re-vote at that time, or what do we do?
CAO can respond to that right away.
Thank you, Your Worship. So you're passing it tonight, and it's saying in accordance with the policy.
Yeah.
So we're going to come back, and it's almost like a part two, but you've already voted to say that you're doing it, and you want to name it in accordance with the policy. Then we'll come back with whatever
term.
that term is, and if it is forever, then the resolution would state forever.
Thank you.
And then it's written and on the record, and you're good to go.
Great, thank
Okay.
you.
Why don't we just do that now?
No, we're going to just get her to touch base with the department, and we can vote tonight on it and go forward. Questions called? All those in favor? Councillor Ron, yea or nay?
In favor?
Okay, 9-0. 9-0. Okay, so we have planning resolutions, correct, Madam Chair? Did you want to speak, or just let them, okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just so you'll see it noted here on the agenda, these 4 resolutions are for council's approval to move on to public consultation. So that's the only thing that, that we're discussing, that we need to discuss tonight, is whether or not we're moving these on to public consultation. So thank you.
Thank you, Deputy. Number 1.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Be it resolved that council approve the request to proceed to public consultation concerning the request to amend Appendix A, the future land use map of the City of Charlottetown, from unlisted land uses to village center commercial, and a request to amend Appendix G, zoning map of the Charlottetown Zoning and Development Bylaw, from NA, zoning not assigned, to East Royalty, mixed-use village center, ERMUVC, for unaddressed property identified as PID 140087.
Okay. Question? Questions called. All those in favor? Councillor Drawn, yea or nay?
In favor?
Thank you, sir. Yes?
Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Be it resolved that council approve the request to proceed to public consultation to consider a site-specific exemption in the heavy industrial M2 zone of the zoning and development bylaw as it pertains to 94 Watts Avenue, PID 757484, which proposes that the existing building on the subject property be used as a commercial daycare center and that a commercial daycare center be added as an additional permitted use for the zoning that applies to the property.
Questions called? All those in favor? Counselor Drawn, yea or nay?
In favor?
Sir? Yes?
Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Be it resolved that council approve the request to proceed to public consultation to consider a site-specific exemption in the downtown core, DC zone, of the zoning and development bylaw as it pertains to 149, 151 Great George Street, PIDs 342386 and 342402, which proposes to construct an 8-story, 85-unit apartment building with ground floor commercial space that would be subject to the bonus height provisions of the zoning and development bylaw.
Counselor Twill?
Yeah, I'm supporting the resolution. Question I have is site-specific. Over the last year and a half, a lot of resolutions have come forward with site specifics. So when recommendations come forward with site specifics, is that now becoming the norm as opposed to the exception? And if that's the case, when an applicant comes to the planning department and wants to propose a site specific to do a specific type of development, is the planning board and staff open to entertaining a site specific as opposed to what's in the current bylaw?
Deputy?
Thank you for your question,
Deputy Mayor
Councillor
Yankoff.
Twill. So this is an option that anybody can apply for site-specific. That is the only option right now until we make changes, if we make changes to our zoning and development bylaw. But each case is evaluated individually. It's not based on what might have been approved by somebody else. A site-specific exemption is based on its own merit each and every single time. I hope that answered your question. But just a reminder, tonight we are only voting
Yeah.
on public consultation. So I'm just reminding everyone that these questions will be available after the public meeting.
No, I understand that because I do know of a developer that wanted to, property owner wanted to do a real nice development, and he was told no. So I do see site specifics coming forward. I'm open to that. I'm just wondering, and I just want to make sure that all developers are given the same opportunity when it comes to site specific, so that you can go, at least get it to the public consultation stage.
Yea or nay there, Deputy?
That's 100% correct.
Thank you. Was 199 Grafton Street a site-specific amendment? Yes, it was. Okay. Question called? Okay. All those in favor? Counselor Drawn, yea or nay?
In favor?
Okay, sir. Next one, please. Thank you. Oh, geez.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Be it resolved that council approve the request to proceed to public consultation to consider a site-specific exemption in the low-density residential R2 zone of the zoning and development bylaw as it pertains to 20 Ralden Avenue, PID 396937, which proposes that the existing building, 325 square meters, 3,500 square feet, on the subject property be used as an automotive repair shop, and that an automotive repair shop be added as an additional permitted use for the zoning that applies to the property.
Counselor Twill, clarification?
What's there now?
It's heating and ventilation owned by Mr. Coffin. I think he just blurted it out. Do you want to give an answer there?
Well, I think it's been answered now, but just a reminder, the question's being asked, I think we could all be a little bit more patient and wait until I answer it, so thank you.
Thank you.
So, if it's heating and plumbing, as Chair of Planning, would the same criteria not apply to what this particular business is acquiring? Do we have to go through all this, and can you not just issue the permit? I mean, it's a business, he's running a business, so I guess my question is what's really different, and why do we have to go through this necessary change?
We'll let you answer, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Twill. The reason that we have to go through site-specific exemption is because they want to go from a low-density residential zone, and they want to move it on to, they're asking it to go
Automotive repairs?
to automotive repair.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's the process. It is the process. In order for it to change that use, it needs to go through site-specific.
Follow the rules. Question called? Okay, all those in favor? Councilor Drawn, yea or nay?
In favor?
Thank you, sir. Okay. We have E, Finance, Audit, Tendering, Administration, Funding Request from the University of Prince Edward Island. CAO, Eleanor, you want to read that?
Moved by Councillor McAleer, seconded by Councillor Bernard. Be it resolved that Council approve the request of partner funding for $100,000 for UPEI Alumni Games Place Field Lighting Project, providing UPEI is successful in placing the additional required funding partners to proceed with the project. And that $50,000 be funded by allocation of extraordinary expenses operating reserve in fiscal 2024-25, and that the remaining commitment of $50,000 be funded in fiscal 2025-2026, subject to the approval of the 2025-2026 operating budget. And further, that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Okay, Councilor Matart. Now, Councilor Drawn, if you want to participate, just shout out there.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll comment at the end. That's great.
Councilor
Thank
Matar?
you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess I just want to make note here is certainly, it seems like a great investment for the city, $100,000 investment for a $2 million return on this project. And we certainly probably want to be a player at the table as many other stakeholders are involved. So my comments are not necessarily in question to this initiative and whether or not I support it. My questions are a little bit more to do with internal process, and so it looks like we want to maybe fund it from our extraordinary expenses, which I know during budget time we had a lot of discussion around that particular bucket of money and how that would be used, and we talked a lot about possibly using that money for future road construction and maybe other infrastructure projects. So, I have some apprehension about how we're using that extraordinary fund. Again, that's more on the comment around that. And then my second part to the resolution is, are we in a position or can we commit $50,000 to be funded from a fiscal period that we haven't even discussed from a budgetary perspective yet? So we are committing $50,000 to be funded from the 25-26 operational budget, which we've had no discussion clearly on what the operational budget looks like or what will be approved. So I think by virtue of us accepting this resolution, that commits us to $50,000 immediately in the 25-26 operating budget, I suspect. I just want to point that out in the resolution. Again, I feel the investment into this initiative is one that we probably should be a player at the table, as there are many other stakeholders, and it will result in, opportunities for residents across the city and all various levels of user groups, and I was part of the presentation for Mr. Donaldson. So my questions are not necessarily about whether or not we should spend $100,000 on that particular initiative. It's more on the two questions around the resolution. I guess I'm directing that to Councillor McAleer.
Yes, and I'm just going to ask Councillor McAleer, do you want to address that question? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Matart, and very good question. And this situation ended up coming to the table as most of you know, because it came to the Finance Committee, it went to Parks and Rec, and I think there's, for those that don't sit in either of those two committees, I think some of you even viewed these meetings. So this was a request that came post our budget period, and then as Bruce Donaldson, who's spearheading this, indicated, I guess, it started to get a life, I believe, if I'm quoting it right, that when the province indicated that they were willing to be a funding partner to the thing, it really gathered momentum in terms of where Bruce got together in terms of presenting it. So it came in a letter to myself in kind of April, and we all know kind of where it's gone from there. So as for the funding, there's, it's stated here, it wasn't allocated. There were needs that were in the budget for 2024 and 25 that could have used $100,000. There's no question, but this is I'm not necessarily a unique project, but a great project that I think that makes personally makes a lot of sense to try to partner with in terms of the infrastructure. It touches many departments, as we know, finance, Parks and Rec, economic development piece. So to take 50,000 out of the extraordinary expense, I'm comfortable with that. And as for the other 50. As it says in the resolution, subject to the approval of the 25-26 operating budget. So I'd like to think that if we think this is a good enough project to get behind, and I'm sensing that from a number of you, I'd like to think that in the 25-26 budget we're going to be able to find the other $50,000. Thank you.
Councillor Twill.
Yeah. When this came to Parks and Rec, I asked a couple of questions. And questions centered around, number one, with respect to our community groups and the time allotted that they're going to have access to this particular venue. And what I thought what I would see here tonight, I'm disappointed that I don't see, is a memorandum of understanding where it would be spelled out clearly and decisively the amount of hours, time slotted for our community groups. Presentation was given to us was done on the phone. Reference a number of groups that utilized the field. I don't know. I couldn't really get a sense of when they utilized it or have access to it. But I would think for a $100,000 investment. I'm disappointed that we don't have a memorandum of understanding. Usually when we pass resolutions of this nature, we do have a memorandum of understanding that's attached to the resolution, so we can make an informed decision. The second question I asked was, what would be the cost for the community groups? I asked for a comparative analysis at the Parks and Recreation Committee, comparative analysis of what the cost would be for the community groups to utilize this particular venue or the other venue for that matter, as to what the cost would be if the city owned the facility. What the cost is? It twice the amount, 3 times, 4 times? Those are questions, again, that I asked. I thought I was going to get the information, never got it. So that's the first couple of points that I wanted to bring up. And, it's great to say we're going to enter so-called partnership. Partnership spells it out in a memorandum of understanding. And as long as I've been around here, that's usually how it works. And I thought senior management was going to provide that information and have this attached to the resolution. And it doesn't. That's my first point.
Just remember, we have 2 questions each, so Councillor McAleer, do you just want to put them all together and then, no, I'm going to get some other questions. Could you just take, there's the MOU and the fees, but I think on page 108, it says $65 an hour for a rental of the facility. That's already there. So I have Councillor Ramsey, Bernard, and then Councillor Matard. He's going to sum up the other questions.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I watched Parks and Recreation plus the Finance also, and I was listening to it. But this is only an agreement if the other parties are following in line. Is that not correct? And that's the question I would like to answer. And if the carts fall off the wheel with these other partners, like this does not go ahead. Okay?
Councillor McAleer is going to have that down. He's going to summarize the answers.
Yeah, but that's what I was trying to take out, and I would like to have that clarified. Thank you.
Councillor Bernard.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of things. One, I just want to talk about the dollars. We had talked about that at our committee, and seeing that it wasn't budgeted, and there's $1.5 million in the reserves account, we made note that that's where it could come from. But as the director responsible for finance says, at the end of the year, there's usually surpluses, and we're hoping to use the surpluses. The other thing is, we also talked about what Councillor Twill just brought up, about if this goes ahead, if they get all the ACOA funding and the provincial federal funding that they're hoping to get, if this does go ahead, then there will be an agreement drawn up with usage for the city for the sports fields, for our sport organizations. The other thing was, they're building a turf field. The $100,000 we're contributing is going towards the lights. So there'll be a lot of field time that will be available. And so that's why we're looking to be able to get some of that field time. But when you have a turf field, I mean, it's $1 million to build a turf field, or probably more than that now, and then to put lights around it. So for $50,000 a year for 2 years, and to be able to, we're short fields now, guys. I think everybody knows that. We've had groups in here talking about baseball. We've had groups in here talking about soccer. We've talked about rugby. So we're short fields, and so for $50,000 a year and to be a partner and have a lighted turf field that our sport organization will be able to use, I think is great. So just wanted to put that out there, that it's not a done deal yet, but if it is, we have to show where the money's coming from today. But I think in the past years, we've seen surpluses, and I think we could probably take it out of the surplus at the end of the year.
Councillor Matard.
I just want to, I appreciate Councillor McAleer's response, but I don't think it answered my question of, so maybe I'll ask it to the CAO or our finance director. Can we commit funds in a fiscal period that we have not had a discussion about or approval of prior to? It's just simply a clarification on my part, because if that's not the case, we may do this more regularly. We'll just commit lots of money for next year on different projects, whereby we will just say we'll deal with it in the next discussion.
And hopefully the support's there.
Yeah, and hopefully
Danny?
the support is there.
Through the
More
mayor,
so.
to Councillor Matard, so you're absolutely correct. We cannot commit funds for the next operational budget, and that's why the resolution is worded the way it is, that the commitment is
It's just
subject to
subject to
approval in the following budget cycle. So
I guess I'm just more concerned than what commitment that, I mean, if we enter into agreement that we will fund $100,000 and fast forward to the next fiscal period, and for whatever reason we decide we're not going to do that, what would that do? I'm looking at the practice here a little bit more than anything. It's nothing to do with the initiative, don't get me wrong. It is the practice of what I see here. I'm supportive of the initiative and the $100,000. I think it's a great investment, although just the practice here is my question. But if it's fine, if you guys feel comfortable with it and that's good, then I'll move on.
Councillor Turan?
Thank you, Mayor Brown.
Thank you.
And I just want to give an update of where this came from, where it's going. I was involved in the 2 finance meetings. You know, it seemed like last week it came to, or the week before, it came to the finance meeting. It was looking forward to take the $100,000 out of extraordinary reserves. There was discussion then. We decided that it could go 50-50 they'd look for the money, because I felt its extraordinary reserves were for emergencies, whether it be, another Fiona or a storm. I wasn't looking to take it from the reserve. But this came to finance on a Tuesday. I think it went to Parks and Recreation on a Friday, turned around back to an emergency meeting on a Wednesday, and then here for pass the resolution on a Thursday night. So in all my 10 years from seeing something like this is the fastest that I've ever seen something go through so many committees and back to here for a resolution. I've worked at the university 34 years. Their operating budget this year, projected for 24-25, is $183 million. Their budget is up 12% in revenue. We as a city, our budget's $86 million for our operating budget. Another 45 for capital. So I said it before, we're the small fish here. We're giving away $100,000. Our grants, we've dropped some of the grants we didn't give money to. This came in later. It's $100,000 that we don't have. We have to go find it. There's no recommendation from senior management. They just said there's a way to get it. They don't say this is a great idea, go ahead and spend it. I'll give them credit for that. We've partnership with the university on a rink. We give $1 million plus we get capital, pave the driveways, the parking lots. We do our fair share. It's a partnership through the university and us. It's been going for years, which is great. We paired in the turf field when it was first established many years ago. That didn't work out because of the allotment of city kids getting on the field. So they took it over. Then we decided we weren't going to pay for the new turf field when it had to come up. So now we're asked to partner again. Like I said, their budget's $97 million more than ours. I can't support this. I can certainly support a letter of recommendation if they want to go to ACOA or wherever they're going with the federal and ask there. The city can certainly give a letter of recommendation. But as far as giving $100,000, like it seems this last 2, 3, 4 weeks, every time we meet, we're giving money away. There's intersections, there's roadways that have to be paved that residents have said, I haven't had my street paved in 30 years. And yet we're giving money away every day. So again, I support a recommendation to give them, to forward it on. But as far as taking $100,000, especially out of the reserve fund, I can't do that. So I appreciate the time to give my rendition of it, but I can't support this. Thank you.
Can I just get a response from Councillor McAleer with the questions you have? Can you just respond to them?
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Just to circle back to Councillor Tweel, and I think Councillor Tweel, Councillor Bernard spoke or basically said what I would reply to you on the user groups. Like if this thing is approved, there will be some language tied into the $100,000 funding request. And as for your comparatives on user fees, what UPI groups are charged versus the public, I know I watched your committee meeting again, and that was asked. She asked that at Parks and Rec, and I don't know if Parks or Christopher or Frank were able to circle back. So that I can't speak to honestly. Kevin, Councillor Ramsey on the funding thing and the formula. You are correct. There is an understanding around that if Bruce is not successful in the partner funding, then this is off the table. Right? As for you know, as for Councillor Drong you know, has, you know, very eloquently spoke, and he's shared those comments at the Finance Committee. And as it's, I mean, you know, the reality is, there's not a staff recommendation. It says here, should council decide to support the request for funding in the requested amount of 100,000, a resolution is requested to allocate 100 from extraordinary expenses. Well, we've spoke to how we think that possibly could be actionable. 50% out of the reserve and 50% possibly out of 25-26 operating budget. So, you know, the reality is, as councillors, you have the information in front of you. It's a project. You know, there's been a lot of discussion on a lot of information. There's not a staff recommendation. It's got to be decided upon council. So I don't have anything more to say. It's if you know, see where the resolution ends up after its call. Thank you.
Councillor Twill.
You know, we talk about field turf. We have plans for a field turf here in the city of Charlottetown. We're going to be pursuing that hopefully in next year's budget. We do have a plan. You know, partnerships are a two-way street. I don't want to be negative here tonight. I don't want to be critical. But, you know, the original field turf that was built at the university, when there was a shortage in terms of the field itself to make it inclusive for all sports, to truly make it a multi-purpose field, wasn't there. I received grief from one of the user groups. The city of Charlottetown spent on a second resolution an additional $75,000. You were there, Mr. Mayor, the two of us. We said no. After we wouldn't reconfigure the multi-purpose field. So, you know, two things. We need to build our own field turf, number one, for our own community groups. It's long overdue. And with all due respect, Chair McAleer, I appreciate what you're trying to do. I do. But I have to have a memorandum of understanding so I can say to our user groups, in terms of accessibility, in terms of affordability, here's what's laid out. And you can read it for yourself. There's a memorandum of understanding. Right now, we're not. And I don't know why our senior staff hasn't come forward with the recommendations, but I tried my best to ask those questions at Parks and Recreation. I did. And we're here tonight, and we don't have that outlined in a crystal clear fashion in writing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor McCabe.
Thank you. I tend to agree with Councillor Twill in some ways. I think there has been history. I think that it is, I agree, we need fields, we need to, but I think if you're going to invest $100,000, you need to know how it's going to benefit the group. So whether they can bring something in, like, you know, before we commit money, what are we committing to? Other than lights for the University of Prince Edward Island. So I'm not willing to support this resolution the way it is tonight, but I hope that we'll be able to come to some things so that we can all benefit.
Question? Questions called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. So I have Councillors Beck, Ramsey, McAleer, Bernard, and Deputy Mayor Yankov. Those against? Okay. Councillors McCabe, Twill, Matert, and Councillor Duran, nay?
Nay, please.
Okay. 5-4. Resolution is carried.
Your worship.
Thank you. Oh, Danny, do you want to go ahead there?
If you don't mind.
Go right ahead, sir.
Just as a point of clarification, because there was some back and forth on this, the resolution is to support the lighting portion of the project. There was discussion, a second, kind of a part B, which was the hope to add turf to the natural surface. Our commitment is on the lighting portion of it, and the turf portion is dependent on an application to the Canada Games Legacy Fund. So just so everybody's on the same page on that.
Okay. Yep, motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. Okay, thank you very much, guys. Thank you.